The first thing Dalen Ashford noticed when he woke up wasn't the cold metal table beneath him, though that was certainly unpleasant. It was the smell. Sterile, chemical, but not like any hospital he'd ever been in. It smelled like clean air that had been filtered too many times, stripped of anything remotely natural. He blinked against the bright overhead lights, squinting as a blurry shape moved nearby. His arms were restrained, not tightly, but enough to let him know that whoever had brought him here didn't want him wandering off. Subject's vitals are elevated. Pulse at 147 beats per minute. The voice was flat, oddly rhythmic, and came from a tall, bipedal creature standing a few feet away. Its skin was pale and smooth, with no visible mouth or nose, only a pair of dark, reflective eyes. It wore something like a tunic made of woven silver fibers that shimmered faintly under the light. Dalen groaned, flexing his fingers. 147? Yeah, that sounds about right. The creature turned its head toward him. Explain. I did some push-ups before you guys grabbed me, he said, his voice hoarse. That's normal. The creature stared at him in silence for a few seconds. Then it tapped a small panel on the wall with 3 fingers. Another alien stepped in, this one shorter with a broader torso. It held a translucent tablet that displayed a 3-dimensional model of a human heart spinning slowly. Physical exertion increased cardiac activity, the second alien asked. That's how it works, Dalen said. You move, your heart pumps faster. What, you think I was having a heart attack? The first alien exchanged a glance with the second, though Dalen wasn't sure how he could tell that's what they were doing. There were no eyebrows to raise, no mouths to frown. Human physiology presents chaotic patterns. Verification required. Look, Dalen said, shifting slightly on the table. Can you guys at least unstrap me? I'm not gonna run. Muscle activity may further destabilize organ function. I'm not dying. Dalen barked, then coughed. His throat still felt like he'd swallowed sandpaper. I was doing push-ups. You know, exercise. A pause. Then the second alien pressed something on the tablet. The restraints hissed and retracted into the sides of the table. Dalen sat up slowly, rubbing his wrists. His t-shirt was soaked in sweat, and he realized he still had on the gym shorts and sneakers he'd worn that morning. The last thing he remembered was finishing his 3rd set of push-ups in the park. Then a blinding light, a buzzing noise, and a sudden drop in temperature. Then this place. You know, abducting someone mid-workout is kind of rude, he said, hopping off the table. His legs wobbled a bit, but he stayed upright. Clarify push-ups, the first alien said. Dalen dropped into a plank position on the cold floor and started doing push-ups, counting aloud. 1, 2, 3. The 2 aliens watched in silence as he reached 10. Then stood again, breathing a bit harder now. That's what a push-up is. The second alien pressed something on the tablet. A holographic diagram showed Dalen's muscles flexing with each repetition. Voluntary muscular strain for no immediate survival benefit, it said. Exactly, Dalen said. It's exercise. Keeps us strong, healthy, and sometimes it just makes us feel better. A third alien entered the room. This one was taller than the others and wore a dark blue sash. It looked at Dalen, then at the tablet, then back to Dalen. The human claims elevated pulse is the result of self-induced stress activities, it said. Not stress, Dalen corrected. Effort. The tall alien tilted its head. It is inefficient. Your species damages its own tissue for maintenance. Well, when you say it like that, it sounds dumb. But yeah, pretty much. The alien regarded him silently for a long moment, then gestured toward the door. You will accompany us. Dalen followed them into a long corridor filled with a faint humming sound. The walls were smooth and curved like the inside of a seashell. He passed several other rooms, each with glass windows. Some held other life forms, none of them human. Am I the only one of my kind here? He asked. The alien with the sash answered without turning. You are the first human subjected to direct observation. Your arrival was unintended. Your physiology presents anomalies. Anomalies. Dalen frowned. Because I was working out? Because your vital signs mimic distress while you claim wellness. I wasn't in distress. I was just warmed up. You try doing 50 push-ups and see how your heart responds. The lead alien stopped at a large door that hissed open. Inside was a chamber with what looked like a giant treadmill and several upright scanning devices. You will demonstrate further physical activity. We will observe. Dalen looked at the treadmill, then back at them. You want me to do a workout? Yes. Do you even know how to spot someone on a bench press? They didn't reply. With a sigh, Dalen stepped inside and stretched, rolling his shoulders. His muscles were still a bit sore from earlier, but he figured if it meant not being dissected, he could manage a few squats and sprints. He started with jumping jacks. The motion made the aliens flinch slightly, as if they weren't used to such fast, repetitive movement. Then he moved on to lunges. By the time he got on the treadmill, he was sweating again. Observe, the lead alien said. His internal temperature rises. Cardiac rhythm accelerates. Respiratory rate increases. And yet he continues, the second alien said. He does not signal distress. Dalen, panting, wiped his forehead. This is what we call cardio. The treadmill adjusted its speed automatically, increasing as he ran. After 5 minutes, his legs were burning, and his breath came harder. He stopped, doubled over, and waved a hand. Okay, that's enough. The aliens immediately scanned him with a light that passed over his body from head to toe. No internal rupture, one said. Minor muscle fiber tearing. Heart rate 162. Which, Dalen gasped, is still normal. After a run, the lead alien turned to him. Your species intentionally induces cardiovascular strain and muscular trauma as routine? Yeah. Well, not trauma exactly, but micro tears. They rebuild stronger. It's how we adapt. Adaptation through damage? That's how we survive, Dalen said. We get stronger by pushing limits. The aliens stood silently processing. Then one of them asked, how many times per cycle do your people engage in this behavior? Some daily. Some never. I go about 5 times a week, sometimes more. You do this? Voluntarily? Yep. The lead alien looked down at the tablet. You will rest now. We must reassess our parameters for human endurance. Dalen nodded, still catching his breath. Glad we cleared that up. He was taken to a different room, this time less clinical, more like a dormitory. A cot, a water dispenser, even a folded blanket. He sat on the cot, knees aching, and leaned back against the wall with a sigh. After 30 minutes, a stream of cool mist filled the room. He coughed, waving it away. Hey, what is this? It will lower your body temperature, a voice said over a speaker. Could have just given me a fan, he muttered. Throughout the next 2 days, Dalen was put through a wide range of tests: flexibility, reaction time, even pain thresholds. He did his best to explain everything: lactic acid, soreness, recovery time, rest days. The aliens remained baffled yet fascinated. By the 3rd day, he started to feel it. Fatigue in his legs, a tightness in his calves, and a sharp twinge in his left shoulder from overuse. I need rest, he told them when they brought him to the treadmill again. Real rest. Or I'll pull something. Explain pull. An injury. Strain. Pain. Debilitating. The lead alien hesitated. Then it nodded. You will rest. He lay on the cot for hours, stretching occasionally, massaging his shoulder. They brought him food, not bad, mostly nutrient pastes, but food nonetheless. Later, the lead alien returned, alone. You said your species adapts through stress. This is inefficient. It's how we evolved, Dalen replied. We get thrown into bad situations and we figure it out. Sometimes we break. Then we heal. Then we try again. The alien stared at him. This is not optimal. Nope. But it works. The alien turned to leave, but paused. We have begun adjusting our models. Your baseline vitals will be recalibrated to account for your push-ups. Progress, Dalen said, raising a tired thumb. As the door slid shut behind the alien, Dalen lay back and smiled faintly. Next time, he muttered to himself, I'm doing yoga instead. Dalen woke up to the sound of something whirring overhead. Not the soft hum that filled the corridors, but a sharper, pulsing rhythm. He blinked and sat up. A circular device floated a few feet above his cot, rotating slowly, its underside flickering with red and green lights. He stared at it for a few seconds before rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "You guys ever heard of knocking?" The device made a soft chirping sound, then slid sideways toward the wall, where it hovered motionless. A moment later, the door opened with a faint hiss. Two aliens entered, neither familiar. One was lean and angular, with a translucent membrane stretched over its limbs. The other held a flat, metallic case and walked with a gait that suggested it wasn't built for upright travel but forced itself to do so anyway. "Subject Ashford," the taller one said. "You are requested in the biomechanical diagnostics suite." "Is that the one with the treadmill or the one where you made me wear that helmet full of gel?" "Neither. This is a new facility." Dalen swung his legs off the cot and stood. "Let me guess you found something weird." The shorter alien opened the metal case. Inside were two flexible bands and a set of small discs. "We require a deeper analysis of your musculoskeletal interface. You will place these on your limbs." He took the bands and eyed them. "You're not going to shock me with these, right? There is no electrical discharge." "Okay, but that's not a no." The taller alien gestured toward the open door. "You may walk or request transport." "I've been lying down for hours." "I'll walk." They led him through a corridor he hadn't seen before. The walls here had a matte finish, dark gray, and the light was dimmer. He passed a room with a tank full of thick, green fluid and something moving slowly inside. He didn't ask. They entered a chamber with a platform in the center and a ring of tall, narrow panels that curved overhead like the ribs of a massive skeleton. The floor was covered in a soft, rubbery surface that gave slightly under his feet. "Stand on the platform. Attach the discs to your elbow, knee, shoulder, and ankle." He complied, sticking the cold discs to his skin. They clung without adhesive. The shorter alien tapped a control panel and the room darkened. From above, a blue grid snapped into place, forming a cage of light. "You will perform a sequence of movements," the taller one said. "Begin with a forward bend." Dalen bent at the waist until his fingers brushed the floor. The grid shifted around him, adjusting to his posture. "Now raise your right leg behind you while maintaining balance." He did his best. He wasn't a ballet dancer and nearly toppled. "Interesting," the shorter one murmured. "Define interesting," Dalen said, arms flailing as he straightened up. "Your range of motion exceeds our projections, despite evidence of minor joint deterioration." "Yeah, well, that's called being 35. The taller one tilted its head. "Explain." "I'm not a teenager anymore. Stuff starts to wear out. Knees, shoulders, lower back. It's normal. You exhibit structural degradation yet retain high mobility. It's called pushing through discomfort. Humans are annoyingly stubborn." The panels shifted again. "You will now simulate lifting a mass of 60 kilograms. A rectangular block rose from the floor in front of him. He crouched, gripped it, and strained. It wasn't heavy by gym standards, but his back twinged. He set it down carefully and exhaled. "You know, maybe I should have stretched first. Your spine flexion indicates instability in the L4-L5 region." "Yeah, I know. Had a herniated disc 2 years ago." The shorter alien turned. "You survived spinal trauma?" "Not only survived, I was back to running 5 weeks later. Without surgical intervention, just physical therapy and a lot of cursing." They both fell silent. The taller one finally spoke. "You endured extended pain to regain function?" "Pretty much." A long pause. "Why?" Dalen shrugged. "Because I wanted to walk again." "What's the alternative? Give up?" "Humans don't do well with can't." The aliens conferred in a language that sounded like wind rushing through hollow tubes. When they turned back, the shorter one said, "You will now simulate escape from a confined space." A section of the floor dropped away, revealing a dark cylinder with a narrow entrance. "You've got to be kidding. You must enter and exit in under 30 seconds. Dalen peered inside. "That's barely wider than my shoulders." "Correct. Let me guess, this is about adaptability again. We are testing neural patterning under claustrophobic stimuli." He sighed and crouched. "If I get stuck in there, you owe me a massage." He slid into the cylinder, wincing as the cold walls scraped his arms. He crawled forward, knees grinding against the rubber surface. About halfway through, the lights went out. "Real cute," he muttered. The exit opened ahead just as he started to feel trapped. He burst out the other side, panting. "That was not 30 seconds, the taller alien said. "Yeah, well, you shut the lights off." "A variable to test disorientation tolerance." "I tolerated it." "Barely." They helped him up and guided him to a reclining chair with small protrusions on the armrests. "Now we will monitor your recovery. I'd prefer a nap and a sandwich. Your metabolic rate suggests moderate exertion. Nutrient intake can be arranged." He leaned back, pulse still elevated. "You guys really don't hold back, do you?" The taller alien studied a readout. "You are within safe parameters. However, your cardiovascular system remains irregular." Define irregular. "Not in decline. Simply unpredictable." "Welcome to humanity." The shorter one turned. "We have initiated modeling based on your data. Your physiology is disruptive to our standard classifications. You didn't expect sweating, limping, and crawling through tunnels? We did not expect emotional detachment from physical stress. I wouldn't call it detachment. I just don't panic about it." The taller alien hesitated. "You do not fear damage." "I do. I just don't stop because of it." They watched him quietly. Then the shorter one closed the metal case. "You will be returned to your rest chamber. Further testing is postponed." They led him back through the dim corridor. As they passed the tank again, the creature inside pressed something like a face to the glass. Dalen looked away. Back in his chamber, he stretched out on the cot and tried to ease the ache in his shoulder. An hour later, the lead alien from before, the one with the sash, entered without announcement. "You have demonstrated unusual tolerance for discomfort." "Thanks. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me today. We have reviewed your history. You have experienced bone fractures, soft tissue tears, and viral infections. You pulled my medical records? Archived from planetary transmissions during your unconscious state. You dug through hospital forms while I was napping. Creepy." The alien stepped forward. "Your species accepts bodily harm as inevitable." "Not exactly. We try to avoid it, but when it happens, we just deal with it." "You categorize it as a temporary inconvenience." "Pretty much." The alien paused. "We assumed sentient organisms would prioritize preservation above discomfort." Dalen sat up. "Preservation's great, but guess what? Sometimes it's not an option. Sometimes you're stuck and the only way out is through." The alien didn't move for a long time. Then, finally, "Your statements will be circulated to the Biocognitive Committee." "Awesome. Let me know if they want me to crawl through more tubes." The alien turned to go, then stopped. "Tomorrow you will attempt vertical scaling." "Climbing?" "Yes." Dalen groaned. "Better stretch tonight." The door closed behind the alien. He lay back against the cot again, this time with a pillow they'd finally provided. He stared at the ceiling, already bracing himself for whatever obstacle course they had planned next. The room dimmed automatically. Somewhere in the walls, the faint hum continued. And in the quiet, Dalen whispered, "You guys have no idea what humans are willing to do just to prove they can." Dalen's knees cracked as he crouched by the base of the climbing wall. It stood nearly 20 feet high, a patchwork of smooth panels and faintly glowing handholds. The room was tall, dome-shaped, with the same soft floor as the diagnostic suite, but the air here was warmer, just enough to make his palms damp. 3 aliens hovered nearby, 2 on the ground and 1 suspended mid-air in a grav bubble. The one floating, identifiable by the pale blue marking along its upper thorax, had a small device projecting a real-time skeletal rendering of Dalen's body. His spine blinked red in 2 places. I told you earlier, Dalen said, pulling at the sleeves of his shirt, those are old injuries. They're stable. We are not evaluating structural compromise, said the floating one. We are assessing compensatory patterns. Which means your body's method of bypassing its own flaws. Dalen rolled his shoulders. That's called aging. The wall shimmered and the glowing holds rearranged themselves, sliding silently into new positions. The alien closest to the wall, shorter and with folded limbs like a praying mantis, raised a small panel. Climb to the top. No time limit. No verbal cues will be given once you begin. Great, Dalen muttered. Just like gym class. Only with more surveillance and fewer whistles. As he stepped up to the wall, the holds dimmed briefly, then brightened again. He reached for the nearest one, pulled himself up, and began to climb. The first several feet were easy. The holds were wide, evenly spaced, and his grip felt solid. But the higher he went, the more erratic the spacing became. Some holds were barely large enough for 2 fingers. Others jutted out at odd angles, requiring awkward shifts of weight. Halfway up, his left foot slipped. He caught himself, barely, pressing his cheek against the cool surface as his right arm strained to keep him in place. From below, a crisp voice called out. Displacement in left gluteal stabilizers. Compensation detected in right deltoid. Yeah, Dalen called back. I noticed. He adjusted, found his footing again, and continued. The final stretch required a near horizontal reach. His shoulder protested a sharp pull in the spot he'd overworked during the treadmill sprint 2 days earlier. He exhaled through his teeth, let his heel drop slightly, and swung upward. When he reached the top, instead of a buzzer or a congratulatory message, the holds simply retracted into the wall and the surface smoothed over behind him. A soft platform rose from the top edge, allowing him to sit. The floating alien ascended to meet him, the grav bubble humming quietly. You did not hesitate, it observed. I figured hesitation was how people fall. You accepted the pain signal without interruption to task. I've had worse from stepping on Lego. The alien paused. Lego? Never mind. The platform lowered. When he stepped off, a new alien waited near the base. This one was broader, its body encased in a segmented exosuit that hissed softly with each movement. You will follow. Dalen wiped his hands on his shorts and followed. They moved through a narrow passage, different from the others. The walls were matte black, and the lights were dimmer than anywhere else he'd been. The alien in the exosuit stopped at a rounded door that looked thicker than the others. Without turning, it said, You have been selected for final contextual evaluation. Final sounds dramatic, Dalen said. What's this one mental endurance? Cold exposure? Sudoku. The door opened. Inside, the room resembled a hospital trauma bay. A padded table in the middle, overhead lights, and a set of sterile instruments laid out on a tray. A translucent panel blinked to life as he entered, showing a rotating image of his knee. Please lie down. I'm not getting surgery. No procedure will occur. We require simulation. Dalen lay back, eyeing the instruments. One looked suspiciously like a bone saw. The alien held up a small device shaped like a flattened cube. This will stimulate nociceptors in your peripheral nervous system. No tissue will be damaged. Pain simulation. Yes. Just to be clear, I don't get a prize at the end of this, right? No, didn't think so. The device was placed against his forearm. A short hum. He flinched. Level 1, the alien said. I've had mosquito bites worse than that. Level 4. His wrist jerked involuntarily. He clenched his jaw. Proceed. Level 7. Felt like hot wire dragged through muscle. He exhaled slowly but didn't move. You are permitted to vocalize. Not really my style. The alien adjusted the device again. Level 9. He grunted, eyes squinting. His breathing changed, became shallower, but he stayed still. Cease, said a voice from above. The lead alien, the one with the sash, entered, flanked by 2 others. The test alien stepped back. You have passed all evaluations. Awesome. Can I go home now? No, Dalen sat up. Then what was the point? The sash-wearing alien gestured toward the panel. A new image appeared, a graph with sharp peaks and valleys. Your neurological responses do not match known indicators of distress. You do not suppress pain. You incorporate it. Welcome to being human. The alien tilted its head. We have revised our assessment. Your species does not seek survival through optimization. You persist through tolerance. I wouldn't frame it that way. There's a lot of stuff we're good at. You are inefficient, imprecise, and biologically inconsistent. Thanks. But you are remarkably difficult to break. Dalen slid off the table. We're stubborn. It's a design flaw and a feature. The sash wearer approached. You are not a soldier. Not a specialist. Your records indicate no advanced training in resilience protocols. I'm just a guy who works in IT and eats too much hummus. You are average. Painfully. Yet you withstood every test. Dalen stretched his arms. We all do one way or another. We just don't all get filmed while doing it. The alien turned. Your presence was accidental. Your data invaluable. So I get to leave? You are no longer anomalous. That's not an answer. You will be returned. Dalen blinked. Like to Earth? Yes. When? Within 72 of your planetary hours. You will remain under observation until departure. He rubbed the sore spot on his forearm. Observation without more tests, I hope. There is nothing further to evaluate. Then I want a long nap and maybe something that tastes like pizza. The alien gestured toward the exit. Your request will be translated. Back in his chamber, the cot now had an extra blanket and the overhead light was dimmed to a soft orange glow. A tray of food sat waiting, still pastes and cubes, but now arranged in a recognizable circle with what might have been a crust substitute. He sat, stretched his legs, and looked around. No more scans. No more crawling. No more climbing walls. Just silence. The speaker in the wall buzzed softly. Human Dalen Ashford. Your resilience has been catalogued. Your behavioral model has been disseminated. Your species has been reclassified. He looked up. To what? Adaptive threat. Non-hostile. High tolerance. He laughed quietly. You're welcome. The speaker clicked off. Dalen leaned back, chewed something vaguely tomato-flavored, and closed his eyes. No more proving anything. No unresolved questions. Just one human halfway through space, having survived an accidental fitness exam from alien scientists. And tomorrow he'd be going home.